Grand Rising, guys. Welcome to my lunch break. I figured I'd bless you guys with the opportunity to enjoy watching me eat today. No, I'm just kidding. But why not? If people can make money off of selling used bath water, or selling their used underwear and dirty socks, if people can make money off of that shit, why the fuck couldn't I make money off of watching me eat? It's I don't see a problem with it. No, but that's not what we're going to talk about, right? What we're going to talk about is I came to the conclusion that you can tell that a society is doing well by the gaming consoles, by whether how they're being treated, whether they're being sold for high amount of money, or if they're just being given away, right? Let me tell you how I came to this conclusion. So I was reminded of back when, one of my first jobs, delivering newspapers when I was like 14, right? And, around that time, Super Nintendo was very popular. And I found an Atari, right? I remember finding an Atari, in a paper bag out in the trash. Someone threw it out for trash. It was just, it was, I want to say Dreamcast or GameCube or one of those other systems, they were just coming out a lot then, right? And people were just throwing them away. Because, was GameStop, I think GameStop was taking them at those times. But the amount of money that you would get, really not even worth it, It's, pawn shops and game shops, they wouldn't really take it because they already had an ample amount, right? Because everyone had a lot of money. Everyone was buying them, right? But, so I think about those times, right? What was that, fucking 20-something years ago, right? And then I think about, how things are right now. I look at the price of, Xbox Series X, right? It's still the same fucking amount of money as it was, 5-6 years ago when it came out? Which is fucking absurd. It hasn't dropped down. And used ones and everything else, good fucking luck. They're still charging you an arm, a leg, and a fucking reach around for it, right? But so, I gave up gaming for a couple years, which I never thought I would do, right? And went in on myself. And, I found myself now getting back into the gaming. And, what's interesting about that is I remember I was working at the job that I had, making really good money, and I had a lot of money I could have blown. But I wasn't even able to get the new gaming system at the time because, just like everyone else had a bunch of money, right? And but we couldn't get one. There was waiting lists and waiting lists and waiting lists, and it's just, they were selling out faster than they could make them. And now people just can't really afford them, right? But it's as I get myself back into gaming, it's funny. It's I started with a brand new account, and I watch myself, beating records that I was never able to before. Hitting ranked statuses that I was never able to. Personal records that I would just always get to the brink of, but could never achieve, could never accomplish. And I'm sitting here slaying everything, right? But I'm doing it also with the console that's not, up to par with the people I'm competing with. Because I'm competing with, on a competitive level, right? I play competitive matches. And I'm using a slower processor. But I'm still able to hold my own. For the most part, it holds me back. But I'm still, you work with what you have, right? But it's just funny how, you look at, Facebook Marketplace. And you look at all these wherever things are being sold secondhand, and it's even this secondhand Xbox that I got. It's like, first off, I don't know how the dude kept it so dirty. It's I've always been a smoker, smoke weed, and I've always smoked near my Xbox. So my Xbox never accumulated so much filth as the one that I acquired did. Right? It's just, well, some people are just, I don't know, dirty. Some people just don't take care of their shit, and but I guess that's all value that we put on things. And I've always kind of, I don't know, I like to use my stuff, but I like to keep it nice as well. As nice as possible while still using it, I guess, right? But yeah, but it's this conclusion I came to is that you'll know that we're doing well as a society when people start giving shit out again. Right now it would be, an Xbox Series X or S. Once you start seeing, pawn shops not accepting them, once you start seeing people making posts about wanting to give it away, well, why are they giving it away? That's, well, because they're in a better position now. They're able to get the better ones. And so as a general, overall, I think that's a pretty interesting, accurate system to tell how we're actually doing as society. But it's funny because the price of the Xbox Series X hasn't changed in the last 7 years. Well, it's still up there around $700, right? But you know what has changed? The value of our money, because our money doesn't get us nearly as far as it used to. And, there's lots of things that contribute to that. But we'll know that we're doing better as a society, better as a whole, when we start seeing things like that just being given away. That's my conclusion.